Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the DoersCast, where we talk to our favorite entrepreneurs around the city of Austin. The goal is to dive into our guests and their stories so that we can inspire you to live out your dreams and take action on your ideas. I'm your co-host, Johnson Din.
And I'm your co-host, Andrew Chang. So today we have a very special guest. He is the co-founder and current CEO of Fetii, which is a ride-sharing company specifically for large groups of up to 15 or 16 people. And they are just like Uber, but they even have their own vans, which they carry people in all around Austin. They started at College Station, and now they're all over Texas. So yeah, without further ado, please welcome Mr. Matthew Iommi.
Yeah, well, I
Welcome to
appreciate
the
it, guys.
podcast, man.
Thank you. Very
Awesome.
cool. Very cool. Thank you guys for having me on. I'll be honest. This is my first podcast, so you guys
awesome.
are you guys
That's
are
an
taking
honor.
my pod virginity.
Let's go.
Yeah, no. So very cool. I appreciate it, guys, and look forward to just chatting it up.
Awesome. All right,
Yeah.
you start.
All right. So to start off, I guess tell us a little bit about how the idea of Fetii came about. Like, what's the origin story?
Yeah, so it started as a shuttle event transportation company in College Station during my senior year at Texas A&M. So
Wow.
what
During college.
during college,
college,
yeah, it was
okay.
my senior year. I had 3 classes left to complete my degree. Typically, during your senior year, it's kind of like a little bit more relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so one of my friends who I had previously done some ventures with, named Justin Rath, who's my co-founder right now and CTO, over at Fetii. We saw these 2 kids who were selling an event transportation company. Essentially, they had one shuttle that was transporting groups from point A to point B. A lot of times for people in College Station, they know Northgate and dinners or sorority, fraternity events, whatever it may be. But the unique aspect of their company is that, unlike typical charter transportation companies that typically would do 3-hour minimum reservations and no payment flexibility, and you reserve it days or weeks in advance. Essentially, their model consisted of just transporting groups for $5 per person cash.
Yeah.
Right. So they had no website, they had no booking system. It was all SMS off the
Mhm.
books. It was just these 2 kids who had done a phenomenal job for what they knew. And what was really interesting is when Justin and I, saw this company, we saw that they were, solving a problem that currently had no efficient solution. And what I mean by that is, right now I want you to think, if you've got a group of, let's say six, right now, you would either need to take 2 Ubers, right? An Uber XL can only hold 5 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Or you would reserve, a van days or weeks in advance.
Yeah. A lot of planning.
With a 3-hour minimum, no
Mhm.
payment flexibility, an hour and 50. I mean, $150 an hour. And who's going to do that just to go out at night?
Yeah,
right?
it's like most people, they don't even wait. They wait till like the day before or something like that.
Exactly.
To plan the trip.
If not just like a couple minutes
Spontaneously,
before,
yeah.
right? Which is what the convenience of rideshare brings. And so right now, really, those groups could only take multiple vehicles, right? Which adds to congestion, adds to emission, and an inferior transportation experience. I mean, who wants to split up the group?
Yeah.
You're thinking, okay, I
exactly.
want to go in this car because these people are going in.
Yeah.
I don't want, it's just different stuff. And so what they were doing is essentially they were able to take these groups, get them to where they need to go together, right? And for $5 per person cash, which was pretty accessible and a low cost for them, for the users. And so we came in, we purchased the company. Justin and I, during my senior year at A&M, they just had one shuttle, and so we started building it up. From there, we Justin, who's our CTO, as I mentioned, had a web development agency, and so he knew how to build up a website, a booking system, the proper infrastructure to kind of make it more digitalized and accessible to customers.
I see.
And from there we started growing it. I mean, the first probably three months, I was the one driving the shuttle bus. I was the one driving it and picking up groups and just kind of seeing what worked, what could be more efficient, what could be, improved using technology. And then from there, I hired out a driver. We purchased 3 more vehicles. And then we built out an app, right? We built out this app that essentially could could allow these people to book one of these large capacity vehicles on demand,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then also, we did a lot of trial and error to figure out what kind of worked. And so one unique thing
Yeah.
too is that in College Station there was one other competitor at the time to us
Yeah.
who was doing the similar model with
Uh-huh.
cash. And once we digitalized everything with that first company we bought, we were able to purchase that second company.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Yeah. So essentially, we
Okay.
had a monopoly on that market.
Was it also like run by students?
It was
and
also
stuff?
run by
Okay.
students. It was run by some people in the Sigma Chi fraternity,
Okay.
and it was a business that had been. It was called Rock and Jays. It was a business that had been passed down for about 6 years, just between the fraternity brothers.
Mm.
And we made an offer to them, and they decided to sell it to us.
Nice.
Wow.
And so what was really cool is we kind of had these two companies that we owned, but we kept them separate in terms of its branding and in terms of its name and everything.
Oh.
We didn't merge them.
Uh-huh.
And so what we were doing is we were kind of playing this game of figuring out what worked and what didn't without losing customers. So I'll give you an example.
Yeah, he had a Smurf account, basically.
So I'll give you an example. Like with one of the companies, what we do is we would require the users to prepay. Right, that would take out the component of the cash transactions,
Mhm.
which when you're scaling a company simply can't do.
Yeah.
It's a lot less efficient,
Mhm.
more room for error in terms of drivers, whoever may be skimping money, just stuff like that. And so we had one company say, okay, we'll service you, but you have to prepay in advance. That didn't really work out because a lot of people didn't know how many people were going to be in their group until right then.
Yeah.
Right. And so then we would see those users instead go to the other company we owned.
Oh,
Right. And said, okay, they're not making me
whoa.
pre-book.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
crazy.
That's so
Yeah,
smart.
And,
Yeah.
and so we were able to do different things with trial and error without losing customers.
Reputation. Yeah.
Right. Until we figured out what worked with one company. So with one company, we finally within our application, Justin was able to integrate a QR code check-in system.
Mm-hmm.
And so we like to say you book a Fetii like Uber and Lyft, but you check in and pay like Lime and Bird by scanning a QR code.
Yeah.
So yeah, you said you guys like created your own UPC tech. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So the UPC QR codes that are on the vehicles and on the driver app. So essentially, when a user comes onto the vehicle, they scan the QR code, and once everyone is scanned on, then the system seamlessly splits the payment of what it should be amongst the group. Right, which allows users to have an affordable price point. Because I'll give you an example. Uber and Lyft can get away with an inefficient splitting strategy, which isn't very used. They have this Venmo thing, and then you have to request it from people and stuff like that. But they don't really necessarily need this component because if I'm taking an Uber with friends, it's 2 or 3 people, and the Uber is going to cost around $15, $20. I can get away with, okay, I'll pay for it and you guys pay me back and hope I get paid back, right?
Yeah.
But with a Fetii, and it's each Fetii trip is almost 3 times the revenue that one Uber trip is, and so you're asking one booker to put up front $100, and hope that their friends pay him back, and so that kind of makes it a little bit okay. It would almost make the service more tailored towards special events rather than just going out to dinner or just going out to a sporting event or a concert, whatever it may be. And so that seamless split with the QR code system we found out is kind of the really cherry to put everything on top and make it accessible and kind of make it work. And so from there, once we had figured out the product, it was all about the customer acquisition strategy. Kind of finding an efficient way to acquire customers and at a low cost, because frankly, up until this point, it was all bootstrapped. We weren't we hadn't taken any investors in or anything like that. And so, what we came up with was an account upgrade that essentially we would give to people, specifically sororities, fraternities, university organizations, stuff of that sort. To these entities that tend to go out in groups and tend to intermingle with a lot of different people and kind of be almost trendsetters within the university, right?
Yeah.
And so we were trying to figure out, okay, what's the best way to go about it. And what we came across was essentially giving these users who for lack of better words are influencers among their peers, an account upgrade that would give them exclusive discounts to enter a Fetii vehicle, but also aesthetically look a lot more pleasing on the app.
Yeah.
Right. It changes it to gold. It says
makes them feel special, basically.
Exactly, exactly, and that's kind of what we go for.
Mhm.
And so the next time they're with a group, which is often,
Yeah.
they'll say, "Okay, I've got this account upgrade. Let's give Fetii a shot."
Mm.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
And once they give it a shot, they realize, okay, this is much better than splitting up
Uh-huh.
the group. Everyone rides together. The vehicles are nice. There's
Mhm.
a lot more room. There's lights. There's Bluetooth. I
It's
mean, it's just
music.
it's
Yeah.
just a better
The
experience.
disco ball too.
Disco balls. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so from there we saw that okay, the strategy worked. It was much more efficient than doing anything like digital marketing or
Mhm.
anything like that. And just the nature of the business of group transportation, we're really fortunate because we're able to see week over week exponential growth. Because if you think about it, whenever we convert one customer, we're
Mhm.
converting up to
A
12,
group.
13,
Yeah.
14,
True.
which
Oh.
Yeah.
makes that week over week growth, exponential and grow viral
I see.
within the organizations and the
How did you guys
universities.
how did you guys come up with that idea of like, oh, we're gonna pick out all of the influencers in the community?
Yeah, that's one thing that I think makes us special, is we're able to, being on the younger side.
Mhm.
Wait, how old are you, real quick?
I'm 24.
24.
24, just turned
Oh man.
25.
Wow.
Just turned
Okay.
25. And so being on the younger side, it gives you a perspective that's a lot closer to your target demographic than if I were a 60-year-old executive,
Yeah.
right? And so if you're able to think more like your customers, you're able to know, you have a better chance of knowing what they want
Yeah.
and how they want it, right? And so
Yeah.
it just makes it. And so that's why I tell a lot of people whenever they start, if they're going to start a business or go into a, whatever it may be, uh, you want to choose what you know best,
Exactly.
right? Because if you know it best, you know what they need the most.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you're part of the market, then you already understand the market.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so, just knowing how kind of these universities worked, how these organizations and social hierarchies work, and taking, I'm not going to say I just came out of thin air. We took a lot of inspiration, for example, from Tinder and Bumble.
Mhm.
They use sororities and fraternity sponsorships in a different way. They would host parties for them and require them
Yeah.
to download the app to come into the party, so different things like that. And that's kind of where we landed on that type of strategy.
Did you guys do that like with parties at different colleges?
No, we didn't.
Not
We
yet?
didn't do it with parties.
Uh-huh.
We've gotten requests from some fraternities like, hey, will you sponsor
Oh, uh-huh.
this
Yeah.
party with us? And we haven't necessarily done it just because the conversion and the cost of the account upgrade strategy is just much more efficient than anything
Mhm.
else we've seen.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Another Easter egg that I'm not sure if this is like planned,
Uh
but one that's talked about a lot at UT is this Instagram account called Queen Fetti.
huh.
I was wondering if you were behind that because it's such a good marketing tactic. 'Cause now everyone's like, there's this one Fetti driver that's really special. Her name's Queen Fetti,
Yeah.
and everyone just wants to go with her,
Yeah.
right?
No, I mean, and that's something that was organic.
Organic.
Right?
Oh,
That's all
nice.
organic.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the cool thing where, we've kind of really created, helped create this brand where it's not necessarily you just getting into a vehicle and going where you need to go and that's it.
Yeah.
It's almost like these Fetti trips are an experience on top of the night's event,
Honestly,
Yeah,
yeah, it's a party in a
right?
bus. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, everyone being able to ride together. It's just, I like to say, you're very rarely going to see people on a Fetti who are frowning.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's because
Yeah.
always you're going to be having a good
Yeah.
time. You're with friends,
Definitely.
which is a unique experience and it's accessible, right?
Yeah.
$5-6 per person, on average. You scan in just like you're getting a lime or a bird, and you can order it within 9 to 12 minutes in advance.
Yeah. So
Right?
it's a fun party experience. Is that why it's called Fetti? Like confetti?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different different theories
Yeah.
behind the name. And that's one of them is Fetti. It just has that light feeling confetti. Whether
Yeah.
there's songs that are Fetti. It's a lot of different things, but what it actually is Fetti in a South Pacific. It's a South Pacific term for good times.
Oh.
Good
Oh,
times
wow.
and an extension of one's family. So we kind of say
Uh-huh.
whenever you're in a Fetti, you're kind of with people that
Yeah.
you're bonded with.
I really
Okay.
see that. And then the driver like always does a selfie at the end too. And they post it. And it's always like a very family-esque
Oh,
picture.
really?
Yeah.
Not all the time,
Huh.
but yeah.
Yeah,
Some of the
okay.
drivers, some of the drivers will do that, and we tell them, have fun. You're really, not only helping these passengers get where they need to go safely,
Mhm.
Yeah.
not intoxicated, stuff like that. You're not only getting them where they need to go together and efficiently for the environment, right?
Mhm.
We're removing unnecessary vehicles off of the road,
Yeah.
but you're just giving a good experience in general, and to where like I said, it's an extension of the night.
It really
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
And so that's one reason why the brand has been able to take off as well. and it's not, a boring or anything like that, because the nature of the business is good times. We want to create
Yeah.
great experiences
Exactly.
for our
Definitely.
customers and everything like that.
Yeah, because I used Fetii for like one trip,
Mhm.
and it was for a grocery trip with my friends. And
Oh,
we went
yeah?
to we went to HEB and back,
Uh,
and like grocery trips are supposed to be like boring,
Yeah.
but it made it fun. We were like hyping up with like grocery bags next to us, and then there was so much space for like all of us and our like food.
uh,
And
How many people did you go with?
it was like 7 people,
Okay.
and all the groceries fit too.
yeah.
So like 7
Mm.
groceries, and all of us fit, and we were like partying with our food next to us. Like, we
Yeah.
could not do that in Uber for sure. Like we
Yeah.
would have needed like a bunch of Ubers and then space for groceries as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And no lights, no
Yeah,
music.
and that's the cool thing that you mentioned. I mean, the use cases for these larger vehicles are,
Anything, yeah.
expansive. I mean, whether it's going for a night out or whether it's an organization event, all the way up to the fact of if you're just getting dinner with friends,
Yeah.
right? Or if it's a corporation who needs to transport their employees from point A to point B, right? I mean, just right now there really isn't an efficient way for groups to get around until Fetii came about, and so that's kind of why, really today we haven't run any paid digital marketing.
Nice.
Mm.
Everything has been
Wow.
word of mouth and discounted ride upgrades.
Wait,
Wow.
wait, one more thing though, but I have seen little squares of Fetis everywhere. That little sticker.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll
Yeah.
tell you what.
That's
for,
psychology.
yeah, for those stickers, it probably for like 3,000 of those stickers, it's probably like $1.88.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And it's so smart because like
Is the ones
it
like
makes
just like on poles, like on the
yeah,
ground,
it's like white
everywhere?
stickers with purple.
The QR codes?
Yeah, no, it's just like the name Fetty.
Just
Oh,
But it
name.
makes the name like in your brain. Cause I've never
repetition.
before I wrote a Fetty, I knew what it was. I was like, that sounds familiar. I don't know why, but I feel like I've
Y'all
seen
mind
it.
if I have a drink?
Yeah, go
Oh, go
ahead.
ahead, yeah.
Cool.
But I feel like I've seen it somewhere, and it was because I saw it everywhere on the ground on the poles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, was that like a
Yeah.
marketing tactic too?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely. And we kind of that's kind of our MO. We kind of look for thinking outside of the box
Yeah.
to get the brand and awareness out there, because you're really not going to make it in a startup if you're not thinking outside the box and you're just spending money on digital ads and
Yeah.
to the point where a
Definitely.
competitor can just outspend you
Yes.
always, right?
Oh, do you have any competitors left, or
That's the-
besides the one you own?
Right, yeah. And speaking of that owning, what's cool is that we don't own any of the vehicles anymore. Yeah. So
Oh.
what we do is we've got Fetii service providers who essentially, buy and purchase these fleet of vehicles, these fleet of large capacity vehicles, and put them onto our platform.
Nice.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're purely a SaaS technology, company now, which is makes the business a lot more light and lean.
Mhm.
And then what was that question? Where did I deter from? You asked something about what was it?
I think you answered almost everything.
Oh, like the competition, right?
Oh,
The
competition.
competition,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Come on, Jonathan.
Oh, I forgot. I thought you answered it.
Both forget it.
Yeah.
So the competition. So yeah, like I said, I mean, really, there's nothing right now,
Wow.
which is why we've been able to grow so quickly with little paid marketing.
Mhm.
Is because right now we don't have any direct competitors. Either you're going to split up the group and take multiple Ubers and Lyfts or personal vehicles,
Mhm.
or you're gonna reserve a charter vehicle days and weeks in advance, pay 3-hour minimums like $350.
Wow.
Which who's gonna do that? And so it's like really there's nothing right now,
Yeah.
which I think is unique because we really didn't copy anyone. We purchased kind of this basic unique model that someone had started, and through trial and error for about a year. We kind of molded it and figured out what worked and what didn't, and created it what it is now. So like
Definitely.
something cool with the QR codes. One inspiration we came from is that I spent about 6 weeks in Beijing in one summer, doing an internship and some courses there.
Mhm.
And over there, their economy is so heavily reliant on QR codes
Really?
through WeChat.
Oh yeah, in China, right? All of China.
I mean, if you
Yeah.
want to buy something, you better have the WeChat app out, ready to scan the QR code. I mean,
Yeah.
almost everything. And so, it just, and this was before the pandemic. So before
Okay.
before restaurants started getting on the
QR code menu.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so a
Uh-huh.
lot of people are starting to use it now. But before that, I really saw, okay, these things, and with the Lime and Bird, they were
Mhm.
using them as well. But no one had done it with rideshare. And so, we really thought, okay, this is a really really convenient, and if we can get it to be very easy to use, it was the right way to kind of get these this check-in process for these large groups more efficient and more scalable and accessible.
Nice. I have one question for myself,
Mhm.
which is, since you said you are purchasing these vehicles or like having your own like different companies that
Yeah.
are providing the vehicles, would there be one with like the seats facing each other instead, like a limo?
Yeah, so so right now we're in 3 cities: Austin, College Station, and Lubbock. We
Yeah.
launched in Lubbock about a week and a half ago.
Nice.
So that
Yeah.
was really exciting. That's been great so far. And I say that because in Austin, our vehicle supply right now is just 15 passenger vehicles. And so these are 15 passenger transit vans, and
Mhm.
and they're all, they're not perimeter seating, which is what you were
Oh,
describing.
okay.
Mhm.
In College Station, when we first started, one of the vehicles we had purchased from those companies was perimeter seating, and so
Oh.
one of those vehicles is like that, but the rest are just going to be rows.
Mm.
And we've got in College Station in Lubbock, we've got 15 passenger vans, but also on top of that, we've got 30 passenger shuttles.
Wow.
Right.
Oh,
So
wow.
for those larger groups
Uh-huh.
that need to be transported, we've got an even better way, which here, if you just
Yeah.
have 15
Like,
passenger vans, you can get 2 of those or 3
yeah.
of those
Exactly.
versus, 10
Mhm.
Ubers,
Yeah.
which is still a better solution.
Yeah.
But yeah, in College Station in Lubbock, we do have those larger
Like for
vehicles.
whole frats, whole
Yeah,
sororities.
exactly.
Uh-huh.
I mean, yeah, exactly. And even in College Station, when we first started, there was a Fetii passenger service provider, which are these fleet owners who put their vehicles onto our platform, who had a 50 passenger
Oh my
50 passenger
gosh.
bus. That was
Wow.
a school bus that was converted. And so we went with that, and for the College Station users, some will remember that option on the platform. It was just super inefficient. You could transport a lot of people, but
Uh-huh.
not many groups,
Yeah.
not many individual groups,
True.
right? Because just how it was so slow, and it could
Uh-huh.
barely get into these different streets and whatnot. And so
Mm.
we ended up taking that down, and just right now we're sticking with 15 passenger and 30 passenger.
Mm.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be like, I think that if you guys can incorporate that with like seating facing each other,
Yeah.
that would be
It
like
adds to
really
the fun
cool.
experience of like
Yeah,
talking to each other
That's
and
for
stuff.
the
Yeah.
fun experience, but we want to also make sure that we keep our vehicles ubiquitous, meaning that these vehicles can not only be used for 18 to 24 years old, 18 to 24 year olds, but can also be used for corporate trips,
Mm.
Yeah.
right? And making sure
Yeah.
that the whole idea is maximizing the utilization of these vehicles, because the more we can get it utilized, the more we're doing for the more people and groups we can transport, as well
Yeah.
as the more vehicles we can remove off of the
True.
road.
True.
Mm.
Have you guys like gotten any companies or businesses to like
Yeah,
to partner
yeah.
with
So a
y'all?
couple. So recently we just
Uh-huh.
announced that we signed Alpha Schools. They're a private charter school, K through 12,
Mm.
to a contract in which we transport their students
Mhm.
to and from different campuses in Austin,
Oh,
as
wow.
well as field trips or events or whatever it may be.
I see.
Which one thing about our model is that because we've got this ride sharing model, meaning we don't have to charge a 3 hour minimum or a crazy amount to make sure that it's worth to call the driver, to get to the vehicle, to make sure
Mhm.
our expenses are paid, to make sure the driver gets paid, the vehicle gets paid. Essentially, we don't have to do that because our vehicles are already on the road, right? Servicing groups on demand. And
Mhm.
so for a company can, have the utmost flexibility and affordability getting these large capacity vehicles, because
Wow.
they can just, okay, you need this vehicle, we'll take it
Uh-huh.
off of the on demand service your reservation or trip or whatever it may be, and then right after, our drivers and our vehicles go back to servicing groups.
Wow, that's so cool. So
You
it's
know,
like an in between. It's like not only are you kind of replacing the Uber side of things, but also like the school bus side of things. Like you're
exactly.
in
We like to
between.
say,
Mm.
there's 3
Yeah.
ways we view the market. One is we're taking a lot of market share from charter transportation,
Mhm.
right? Now weddings, bachelorette parties, corporate events, corporate trips, campus shuttling, apartment, hotel shuttling, can now utilize these vehicles much more at a much more affordable cost
Yeah.
and much more flexible. If they only need it for 1 hour, that's fine with us, right?
Mm.
We're not going to make you have the whole day
Yeah.
reservation and say
Exactly.
you need to transport your clients or whatever it may be
Mhm.
to a brewery for an event. We're not going to force you to pay to have that van waiting there 3 hours doing nothing,
Yeah,
Mm.
definitely.
right? And so it's much more affordable. So we're taking a lot of that market. We're also taking a lot of Uber and Lyft's market, in which before they were transporting these groups in 2, 3, 4 Ubers. Now
Yeah.
they can just take 1 or 2 Fetis,
Exactly.
right?
Mm.
And then
Wow.
the third one is we're kind of creating this new market, whereas group transportation really hadn't been, accessible and
Accessible, yeah.
affordable.
Uh-huh.
And like I said, we're kind of creating this new experience where
That's
people
true.
want to take a Feti
Yeah,
because it's a good time,
definitely.
Mm.
and so that's
Wow.
kind of where we see, those 3 parts of the market.
Mm. How'd you guys get like drivers to come on your platform? Like when I took my ride with with my Fetii. Like I went to a karaoke place with a group of like 10 people, and I actually talked to the driver, and I was like, and he said that he used to drive for Uber,
Yeah.
but now he's doing only Fetii because he said Fetii pays like way better.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, how did you guys get that?
Yeah, I mean,
Uh-huh.
you basically said the answer right
Mhm.
there. Like we
Oh,
take,
yeah.
you know, what we're really fortunate to be able to change a lot of these people's lives. You know,
Mm.
before they were putting depreciation on their own vehicle, right, and not making nearly as much. You know, with Uber, Lyft, we've got a lot of previous school bus drivers,
Mhm.
stuff of that sort. And they come and they ride full time with us because they're able to earn more. They don't have to use their own personal vehicle. They use our Fetii service provider, passenger
Mhm.
service providers' vehicles, um, and it's a good time. I mean, it's you're experiencing memories with groups. You're having a good time, as you mentioned, Queen Fetii. These different type of memories
Yeah.
that they're creating, where it's much more memorable than just one or two people at a time. But yeah, at the end of the day, these our drivers earn substantially more than any other rideshare option that I'm aware of,
Mhm.
which means a lot to me. I mean, a lot of our drivers will come up and say, I really appreciate it, and
Mhm.
you've changed my life ever since I started. And I say, you've
Yeah,
changed our life as well.
definitely.
Thank you for everything you've done. But the fact that they're able to, really find this way to
Uh-huh.
to make sure that their family's taken care of,
Yeah.
very fortunate to have that opportunity.
Has that also been through like word of mouth for like getting drivers to know about
Yeah,
Fetii?
I mean, look, I'll tell you right now, we have a huge wait list of drivers
Oh,
who
wow.
want to drive. We're just
Oh,
it's
wow.
matching
Wow.
vehicles with them.
Oh my
That
God.
that's not the issue. I mean, that's how good the opportunity
That's
is.
crazy.
Yeah. That's definitely not
Okay.
the issue. Yeah,
Wow.
exactly.
All right.
Cool.
Any plans on fundraising?
Yeah, so good question. So here in a few days, which you'd imagine by the time this airs, it'll be
Mhm.
announced. We're actually going to open our doors to our fans, riders, and everything through a crowdfunding campaign on WeFunder.
Oh.
So essentially, in 2021, a law was passed that essentially granted unaccredited investors, so that's people like you and me who aren't millionaires, multimillionaires with
Mhm.
a lot of properties and whatnot, the opportunity to invest in private companies.
Mm.
As little as $250. So it's kind of just getting a little stake in there, joining the journey,
Mhm.
and kind of helping us, improve groups, improve drivers, and improve the planet, frankly.
Yeah.
And so we really wanted to open it up due to popular demand. But really, what's really interesting is that we see that a lot of our users are the ones who align with our vision the most.
Mm.
Right. And so instead of going to a 60-year-old private equity firm who kind of just sees numbers, a
Mhm.
lot of our users kind of see the vision of what Fetii could be, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because they're the ones who are using it the most, and they're kind of the ones who have um, that new generation type
Oh,
of
yeah.
thinking,
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
And so to get them involved, to get them to be a part of it, is kind of what we're going for, and I'm really
Yeah.
excited to have that launch, and that's going to be really exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes so much sense because, like normally people who like the investors, the really rich people, like they're like so half the time they're not even
They're out
really
of
like
touch.
using the product, right?
Yeah, they're out of
Yeah.
touch.
And so the people who are most excited are also gonna want to invest in
Yeah,
it.
which is smart because they're marketing to like you're launching at different colleges, and so they're not only are they using it, but they can be the ones investing in it now too.
Exactly, which is
So people like me can invest in it.
exactly,
Right?
which is so cool. I mean,
Mhm.
when I was in college, if I had the opportunity and you feel so much more connected to it, right?
Yeah.
You can buy some Apple stocks, you can buy
Mhm.
some different shares of public companies, but to buy essentially invest in a private company that isn't open to the general public in terms of an IPO yet. And also be able to utilize that service at the meantime. In the meantime,
Yeah, that
it's
is
like,
so
okay,
cool.
Yeah.
I'm utilizing. Let's go. Let's all take a Fetii. Oh, by the way, I actually own a piece of this
Yeah.
company,
Yeah,
which I think is really
Uh-huh.
that
cool.
is really. Oh my gosh.
So how's that
Yeah.
gonna work? Like once people invest like $250,
Yeah.
like is there anything that they're gonna get in return or like
Yeah, so
yeah.
they're gonna get equity,
Uh-huh.
right? And so essentially, they're banking on the fact that we can grow this company and
Uh-huh.
either get acquired or go IPO'd, right? Go
Okay.
public. And of course, it's risky, just like with any venture. But the reward is great,
Yeah,
right?
honestly, yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
it's just asking people, if you want to join our mission, come along. We're helping the planet. We're helping groups. We're creating great times, like we've been discussing,
Green drivers.
and you can benefit from the financial gains of almost being an early investor, like as if you
Mm.
were an Uber or Lyft,
Yeah.
right? Where
Wow.
before, when Uber and Lyft
Mhm.
started, only rich people and rich angel investors and
Yeah.
VC firms, private equity firms had the opportunity to invest.
Mhm.
This wasn't even an option yet.
Definitely.
So we're kind of entering this new phase within these securities markets where now people who who want to get involved can actually get involved. So it's going to be
Definitely.
really exciting.
Yeah. Have you heard of gum before?
No, I haven't. Tell
It's
me
like,
about it.
so basically, we actually like talked to their founder on a podcast, but they're basically a like social media app, and it's for like startup founders like you, and they're trying to kind of change like the way investing works too, because they want founders to create like short videos, kind of like TikTok for startup founders.
Okay.
Like create videos about their company, and then on the platform they post it, and then there's also investors on the platform, and these investors, like, you know, they can like watch the videos and be like, oh, I like this, and they can like kind of invest on there. So it's also like a very like new way of
Yeah, I'll have
investing.
to
So
check
that's
it
something
out.
that you guys can check out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, well, tell me a little bit about you guys. I mean, how long have you guys been doing this podcast?
so we started it last summer.
Okay.
It was our friend Rodney. He started in his
Rodney
dorm room.
Johnson.
Where's
Just like,
Rodney at? What's
he's busy right now, but like
He's
there's like four
busy.
of us who
Yeah.
host,
Okay.
and so we like rotate around in
Okay.
terms of who hosts each podcast.
Uh-huh.
And it was just
Yeah.
me and Ronnie at first in his dorm room, like on his bed, like interviewing.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it starts. Yeah.
different students
Yeah.
who we thought were just like doing something different from the average college route. Because I feel like me,
Yeah, like we all kind of were brought together because
Yeah.
we were all kind of like interested in entrepreneurship. You know,
Yeah.
we kind of had this mindset of like, oh, we want to like, you know, learn how to do things differently. I
yeah,
guess.
not just entrepreneurship, but just deviating from like the normal college path in general.
Okay.
And so we just interviewed people who we thought were doing that, and then it like grew into this.
Yeah, like when we first started, we were like,
and now y'all are bigger than Joe Rogan.
Hopefully, yeah. Hey, one day we're gonna be
manifesting.
up there. Yeah. But it started out like we actually first wanted to interview like different orgs on campus, and we wanted to like help orgs with their branding. So we're like, okay, we're gonna people can watch a podcast about the org, and then we can like help them sell merch and things like that too.
Yeah.
And then it changed, like we can expand this to like be more general, you know, not just doesn't have to be limited to UT itself, right? It can be
all of Austin.
Yeah, just like Austin. Like, why not talk to entrepreneurs, like people who are up there, people who like we can learn a lot of things from these people, right? And so yeah, it kind of expanded, and we really like put a ton of time and effort into it like last summer, and like really built it up. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at now.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And what, you guys feel confident that you can take this all the way?
With the podcast?
Yeah.
I mean,
and grow
honestly,
it, or do you guys have other things going on as
yeah,
well?
we have other things going on,
Okay.
like Johnson.
Yeah, I'm doing real estate right now.
Okay,
and
nice.
everything said about like promoting and branding for orgs, I'm doing that pretty much for apartments right now.
Okay.
So I've been filming for apartments. I've been doing like giving them clients and tenants. And I get paid for that as well as the videos. And it's been going pretty well for me. And I would say it's pretty different from the average like college career path.
Yeah.
And so I've been looking for other people who are doing the same. Again, like I wanted to ask about like how was college for you and your co-founders, if it was like worth it for you guys, basically.
If college was worth it?
Yeah.
I think what I gained from college, I think can be gained in other, going through other avenues.
I agree.
So I'm not going to say, you have to go through college.
Yeah.
But I say that because in college, that's where I really learned a lot. And it sounds cliche, but that's kind of where I figured out who I am.
Like the personal growth. Maybe not so much like
the education,
academic, like technical.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
you can learn that anywhere.
Equilibrium models with supply and demand. I majored in economics, so that I can kind of, I can read a
Google
textbook.
that real quick.
Exactly. But in terms of having that isolation away from your family, not too many of my friends from where I grew up, which was Coppell near Dallas, went to A&M, and so that was kind of a little bit of a shift as well, because I grew up in kind of a small suburb outside of Dallas, and so kind of having that isolation and really that time to just learn about different things that I wanted to do, and kind of just find out about myself, figure out things about myself. I think that's where the most value came from.
Definitely.
Right. Where a lot of people can find isolation and self-reflection in different ways and in different places. But for me, that was in college, in which for about, a year or two, I was really just learning so much, and not even about, courses, just different things in the world, right?
Yeah.
Prior with high school, you're kind of in this bubble where it's just,
you're sheltered.
it's just playing the social game in high school and trying to get to college. And then once you
Yep.
get to
Yeah.
college, it's kind of like, okay, what do I do from here?
Mhm.
So a lot of, self-reflecting, kind of just taking the time to be okay with yourself,
Yeah.
right? I like to say becoming friends with the guy in your head,
Mm.
Yeah.
and kind of just growing along with them. And so that's kind of where I say the most value is
Yeah.
for me that came from college is kind of, figuring out about yourself.
No, I definitely agree
Yeah.
with that. Like for the first year, it was pretty much just that. I came into college thinking it would just be like the curriculum, the major that I'm learning about, but I really did learn a lot about myself and about the world, about what's possible. Meeting people, entrepreneurs, and other students who've just been doing crazy things.
Yeah.
And right now, like I'm not. What's it? I'm not in college anymore. I actually dropped out. And I don't regret going to college at all because I still learned so much about myself
Yeah.
and all the opportunities out there from
Yeah.
just being here in the environment. And again, not being sheltered, being away from my parents. Like I really appreciate it. So
Yeah, and
Yeah.
regret's a funny word because I've learned that it's really pointless to regret something because you don't know the effects there would be without it,
yeah,
right? Maybe you had never gone to college and then you would never figure this out about
yeah.
yourself, right? And so one thing is, have you heard of the story of the Chinese farmer?
Nah.
No.
No. So there was a Chinese farmer in a village, and and one night his horse ran away. He ran away in the night, and so all the neighbors in the village came and said, that's really unfortunate. Sorry that
Mhm.
your horse ran away. And the Chinese farmer goes, well, yeah, maybe, right? And so the
Maybe.
next day, the horse comes back, and he brought 7 wild horses back with him,
Oh,
Hmm.
yeah.
right? And so the neighbors come and they say, oh wow, that's great,
Uh-huh.
congratulations, you just got 7 extra horses. And he says, well, maybe, right?
Oh.
And so
Yeah.
later that day, his son is trying to break in one of the horses, right, to make it
Mhm.
domesticated and be able to
Uh-huh.
ride it and use it
Yeah.
for farming, and gets bucked off and breaks his leg,
Mm, okay.
right? And so the neighbors
Ooh.
come and they say, "Oh, I'm so sorry about that."
Wait. I think I know where this goes. The military comes, right? The military comes. Yeah.
The neighbors come and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry." His neighbor, I'm so sorry your son broke his leg, and he says, "Well, maybe." And so the next day, a conscription officer comes,
Uh-huh.
drafting people for the war,
Yeah.
and they pass by his son because his leg's broken.
Mm,
And so everyone comes into the village and says, "Wow,
Oh.
you're so lucky!
yeah.
Congratulations!" And he says, "Maybe." The point of the story is that it's tough to know the outcomes and the consequences of
Mm.
one's action,
Exactly.
or the world's action. So it's really to take it at face value and say, "Okay, this is what happened. This is how I'm going to deal with it. It may be good, it may be bad, but
Yeah.
it's all
Wow.
about progressing and keeping going." So, and
That's so true.
I think that's really important as not only an entrepreneur or an executive, but just in life.
Yeah.
To understand, you might be on a low, in terms of feeling down, or you might be on a really tall high,
Yeah.
but you never know when it's going to change,
Mm,
right?
And
And
you have to
yeah.
so
always keep that in mind. Don't expect it just
Yeah.
because it's low, it's gonna stay like that forever. Just as
exactly,
high, it's not gonna be like that
which
forever.
which to me personally, that kind of mindset has helped me a lot.
Mhm.
Whereas when things get really bad, I still have hope. The only bad thing is about that is that when things get really
Yeah.
good,
You're like,
I still have a little doubt, like, okay,
yeah,
this
it's not
could
gonna last
change.
forever. It's not
True.
gonna last
Yeah,
forever, pretty
exactly.
much.
And
Are there
so,
Yeah.
any examples of that, like with Fetii or
oh my
maybe
goodness.
just in college, I guess?
Well, I mean, when we first started the company, the vehicles that we had purchased and that I was driving and everything, these vehicles would break down very often,
Mm.
right?
Mm,
Because these were older ones. We didn't have that much money then. And it was easy to feel down because almost every weekend, I'd be scared that I'd get a call from one of the employees saying, "Hey, the bus broke down. I've got a group in it," and whatever it may be.
Mhm.
And so we kind of got over that hump and made the efficiencies, but it's really easy in terms of like that to say, okay, this is just too hard, let's figure out a different type of business. I don't want to deal with this, right? And then if you look back, okay, that really paid off because we didn't have to spend too much on these vehicles, and it gave us the foundation to kind of find product market fit and build it into,
mm.
now we have really nice vehicles now.
So it became a blessing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, different aspects like that. Really, really high highs. I've woken up, and on paper I was a millionaire, right? Well, at
Wow.
least I thought I was a
Uh-huh.
millionaire because this deal was about to go through or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And then the deal falls through.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can imagine, and I've kind of,
Yeah.
that was still, and it still happens. Like you have to have naiveness. You have to be able to dream big to accomplish, whatever goals you want. But it was kind of that naiveness where, had I, with that naiveness, I really thought I was on this great high, and then it suddenly changed. Right. And
Yeah.
if you can manage those drastic changes between the highs and lows, which are going to come in any startup, and really
Just in life,
and
just in
really in
life,
life, I
yeah.
was about to say that, Johnson. Really in life, if you can manage those, it'll get you a long way. It'll get you a long way.
Really is
Very
true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I feel like that's a big topic nowadays. Mental awareness, mental health awareness, and
Mental
just
awareness,
like emotional intelligence. And that really is true. Like dealing with like the fact that there will be highs and lows. And I've taken what you said into my life as well, where with the lows, I have hope, right? I hope that it will change eventually. It's gonna change. I know it's changed. But with the highs as well, it makes me appreciate the high more because I know it won't last forever.
Yeah.
It makes me appreciate even the
Yeah.
feeling, even if I don't get that deal coming through, just that feeling of, oh, I almost had it, inspires me, and I want to keep that feeling and cherish it.
Yeah.
And so it really, that mindset just makes life better in terms of viewing emotions,
Yeah,
all the ups and
definitely.
downs of life.
Definitely. And yeah, one thing that'll help anyone progress is chasing those highs.
Yeah.
Right.
Honestly, yeah.
But you also have to make sure that you're cherishing the moment as
Exactly,
well.
exactly.
Which I definitely am guilty of not doing enough of.
That's exactly how I live my life, like chasing highs. It's my favorite ADHD thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's in your life too? Like, do you like chase like whatever, like the rush basically?
Yeah. Well, one thing in me is that I really have a problem with stagnancy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would almost say the drastic highs and lows is better than a stagnant middle to
I
me.
definitely agree. I definitely agree.
It's where I start really getting uncomfortable if there aren't any changes, and who knows what that stems from, my childhood or whatever it may be. But if things haven't changed, then I start to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I think that's the reason, and my co-founder is the same way. I think that's the reason why we've been able to progress so quickly. Because I know, before this started, I told you we officially launched in Austin in September 2021.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, that quickly, it's already almost everyone knows about it already. And it's because we would get nervous if the company was growing at a steady 5% or 10%. Right. If it becomes constant, we kind of get uncomfortable. We want to see drastic changes. We
I
want
agree with that.
to kind of chase those drastic, essentially highs in the
Yeah.
business, right? And so that's kind of where I see. And then also, I think I also have got some, who knows what it stems from. I'm not.
I know where it comes from because I've been researching this a lot actually
tell me.
about personalities and stuff. I noticed that entrepreneurs have that personality where they're chasing like the rush. They hate stagnancy, they despise authority, and it all comes from this theory of like farmers versus hunter, right? So some people like structure and routine, and in the past they would be like the farmers who wake up do the same thing every day, and they gain pleasure from just being secure, being stable, right? And then hunters were the opposite. They would go out and do a different thing every day. They were on very high alert. Having a lot of stimulation. And nowadays they're either like ADHD or just doing crazy things and also being entrepreneurs. And so I feel like that's a big part of.
Well, that opens the question. Are you saying this is
a nature thing?
Exactly.
It's both. It's definitely both. But I just noticed that like this personality is more common in entrepreneurs, and so I wouldn't like relating to like college talk as well. Like people have asked like, is college worth it? And I'll say it depends on your personality. Are you someone who craves stability, like the typical career path, or are you more of a hunter who wants like to do something drastically different every day, who just hates stagnancy? Like they're not like, it makes them uncomfortable. Routine and structure makes them uncomfortable. And so like I've learned to live my life like that by like too, where I feel like all my progress comes really fast because I just chase that like extreme high. Or that like fast progression really fuels me because I'm changing so much all the time.
Because you gotta be willing to like when you move fast, you succeed fast, but also you fail fast. And so when you become comfortable with that, like the failures, they don't just like, when you first start out, each time you fail, it's like it hurts a lot. But then the more you do it, you get used to it. And
exactly.
So,
and you learn to manage those highs and lows.
Exactly.
Better. Before Fetii, I had tried, so many different things. Like one of them was just so many things. One of them was uh, we, me and Justin, we started
The tutoring.
that was one of them, but
and the plug
and so like the tutoring was one of them. The Power Boost Society, which was a recharge portable charger for iPhones and Androids. One of them, it was a roadside assistance company where I literally was going out and changing tires and stuff like that, trying to build out. I mean, there's just so many different things where, okay, if one thing didn't work, you have to ask why didn't it work? Where can we improve for the next thing? But to your point, just keep on going.
Yeah.
So
Right.
when you came into college, like, did you know, like, oh yeah, I want to like try all these different businesses, like, have this mindset? Like, what was your vision of, like, oh, what you're gonna be doing in the future?
Yeah. I mean, well, in terms of you're asking the question, why are we the way we are?
Yeah.
Which is a whole more than just a
That's-
podcast.
yeah, it's a philosophical, yeah.
Yeah, and so which me and my co-founder Justin have thought about, in depth. Whether it stems from childhood experiences or genetics, in terms of not only how we think but how we interpret events.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's a cool saying that you and I may be in the same room, but we're viewing this room differently. Right? You may never see the same room that I'm seeing because I'm focusing on different points while you're focusing on different points, and so it's a different perspective. And that goes the same way with taking experiences in life. Right? There could be two people who suffer the same tragedies, whether it be a heartbreak or whether it be financial ruin, and one person will deal with that in a different way that may be beneficial, and the other one won't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's why, like, in my opinion, with nature versus nurture, I feel like nature has not like the whole part, but a bigger part than people think, because nature determines how nurture affects you in the first place. Because everyone will be like, oh, I'm like this because something like this happened in my life in the past, right? But how you change from that event is kind of predetermined in your genetics, just a bit. And so, yeah, it's really interesting. Like, it's a whole like a philosophical question.
I think, yeah.
No.
So you asked if going into college I knew this.
Yeah.
I knew this, right? There's a couple different things. Both my parents were immigrants. And so going through high school, they didn't really understand how the system worked. And so it was really kind of following my friends who had gone. And so they're like, okay, what you have to do is you have to, they're the ones who told me about SATs, right? And told me about AP classes. And so I was fortunate to have a good group around me that, got me to what I thought is the next stage. And so going into college, I kind of thought, okay, this is just the next thing.
I see.
My dad really, he's an entrepreneur himself. He's from England, born in England, worked on the cruise ships, and then came to America, and built a real estate company himself, and did well for himself. And he didn't even want me going to college. Right. He really didn't think that, I needed it and whatnot. And so kind of off the jump, I was kind of put in this position where there wasn't a specific track that I necessarily had to do.
I see.
Which kind of allowed me to kind of figure out, okay, what do I want to do? Right. What kind of, what do I want to be remembered for? What do I want to wake up and do every day? What do I want to accomplish in this life? And at the end of the day, I really think, I want to be the protagonist in my story. The main character. Yeah. It's like, and I think everyone should want that for themselves. And so I asked myself, okay, what would the main character do? Right?
Yeah.
Maybe change how urban cities deal with transportation. Maybe change how people move from one place to another. Right? And that's just the beginning in my head. I've got, a lot of different things that I want to do before my time's up. But I think that's one of the big things. I don't know. Were you guys big readers when you were growing up?
As a kid, until like middle school, and then after that, it just kind of stopped.
Yeah. And for me, it was mostly fantasy, whether it be you've got your generic Percy Jacksons and
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. Those things. I don't know if you ever heard of this book called Aragon. No, it's one of my favorite. But essentially, it's these grand stories about kind of the hero. And so sometimes, whether it be Harry Potter, for example, it fascinates me when someone will say, "Oh, who's your favorite character?" and they'll say Ron. It's something like that.
no,
Side character.
And to
Yeah.
me, it's like, how can that even be a question?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
How can you not think, okay, you would want to be like Harry Potter, you would want to
Yeah.
be, you know,
Because they're scared. They're like they don't believe that they can accomplish the same
that
level of
might be one.
things.
That might be,
And they're scared of
yeah.
being in the spotlight because I mean, if you are the main character, there's so much pressure on you
That's
at the same
true.
time.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, and I think, and just in my head, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's worth the
Yeah.
pressure. I think it's worth the risk, the downfall, to give it a shot. You know.
Definitely.
And then you asked me about the ADHD.
Yeah.
If I ever think about that, you know, and what is ADHD? That could just be
Collection of
something.
symptoms. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you can put a label on it, but I think, and it might be the same, you know, I've heard people say it's the same, but I think with me, it's like OCD.
I would say it's more like
Well,
a
I'm saying
lack.
I have OCD, but is
Oh.
it? I think so. I
Oh.
think so. Who am I to?
That's like the perfectionist thing.
Yeah.
It's
with, like, all these small
essentially
things.
the way I interpret it.
Mhm.
It's having this desire to be in control of everything, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like there's a lot of different like things that have similar symptoms, comorbid symptoms. With ADHD, there is an OCD factor of it as well, where you don't want anyone else in control of you. You want to be in control because you just like can't handle authority, or like you want to be an authority. But to me, ADHD is mainly the main symptom is just you're either hyper focused or you can't focus at all. Like if you're really interested, then you grind it out and you progress really fast. Like your companies, you're progressing extremely fast, more than like any other company would at an average rate.
Yeah.
And so you either progress really fast when you're hyper focused, or you don't progress at all. It's something you don't care about. You can't focus. You don't really care about it. And there's other factors that was like other like personality traits where you despise authority. You don't like structure or routine. You don't like stagnancy. Despise authority. Yeah, like all those other
Yeah,
symptoms.
yeah, you're saying symptoms that I feel, and you know, I don't know the exact statistics, but I know with like social media and whatnot, things.
Yeah, it's been increasing.
So I mean, that's a whole thing to even think about of not only what these type of, you know, titles mean, but also why they're caused and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think for sure there's something there. I think maybe there's something a little bit of that in everyone.
Yeah, definitely. No, definitely there
True.
is. But
You know,
like they just put ADHD as in like on a bell curve. There's like traits like of like traits. Human traits are always on the bell curve. So,
yeah.
like,
Well, who's putting those terms?
what do you mean?
Like who's saying about all this ADHD stuff?
I just watch about this stuff because I'm really interested.
Well, I was just saying that because you got to be careful because they're giving out the Adderall and Vyvanse like crazy.
Yeah, nowadays especially because
Yeah.
it's easy to misdiagnose it. There's a whole like study on why people are getting more misdiagnosed nowadays. It's because like classes are getting bigger and teachers don't want to deal with like rowdy kids. And so the bigger classes get, the less tolerance teachers have for rowdy kids, and they're more likely to diagnose these kids with ADHD just to get them quiet, take Adderall, and just shut up, like medicate, basically, right? So that's the reason why too. But in terms of everyone having these traits, yeah, everyone has these traits to an extent. Like everyone like has less focus on something like disinterest. But with ADHD, it's just more extreme.
Yeah.
Same with like any other like disorder, like psychopathy or narcissism. Everyone has a little bit of those, but if you have an extreme amount, then it becomes a disorder.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And so ADHD has all these superpowers to it too, like creativity, being very outside the box, and thinking like no one else would. And so I don't see it as anything bad. I'm just curious if like other entrepreneurs have it too, because it inspires me.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty
No,
much.
I'd imagine, and you know, Justin and I talk about this a lot, and that's one reason, you know. And speaking of Justin, I think one thing also is and it might be, you know, each other for you guys, but finding someone to go on this journey, you know, together.
Yeah,
I think that's a big thing. You know, I think that's really undervalued. Is it's really tough for you to kind of do this thing alone.
honestly.
Yeah.
Because very rarely is there a person who can cover all the bases.
Yeah.
True.
You know, not only in the functions of a business, but also mentally, creatively,
Yeah.
you know, creativity and whatever it may be. And it works best if you guys kind of can relate and understand each other.
Yeah.
That's very true. Like, how
How did you meet your
guys
co-founder?
you find
Yeah,
each other?
well,
Yeah.
we met in high school. Yeah, we were friends in high school, but we each had a lot of friends, right? And so it's not like we were necessarily the best friends in high school,
Mhm.
but kind of when you go through life, there's kind of a filter on life, right? Where you start veering towards certain people who maybe have the same aspirations and goals as you, or who maybe think similarly. And so, kind of as we were going through life, it kind of started getting filtered down to where, okay, I understood that Justin is the most similar to me,
Mm.
right? And has the same aspirations and goals.
Mhm.
Might have the same naiveness I have in
Mhm.
thinking we can do great things,
Yeah.
right? Which I think you have to have. And so that's kind of before we had really even gotten into business, we had always just kept talking about what each of us were doing, what we were learning about, and stuff like that, until finally, okay, let's start this business. Let's try these different things.
I see.
And from there, yeah.
So y'all understood that like you guys both had that mindset of
Yeah,
wanting to
and we
entrepreneurial.
understood too where, which I think is important, is kind of where we each came from,
Mm.
right? I think
Mhm.
if you know someone's childhood, I think that's invaluable and you know much more impactful than meeting someone when they're 20,
Mm.
20, 21, 22, 23.
Yeah.
Because if you knew them in childhood and where they came from, you kind of know what foundation they're built on.
Yeah,
Mm.
and like why they make the decisions that they do.
And so at the end of the day, that will improve success greatly versus trying to find a founder
Mhm.
on Twitter or
Yeah.
something. Which I'm not saying it can't work.
Yeah.
Just your chances of
True.
of succeeding are I think lowered.
Mhm.
So I think the earlier your co-founder, the better, and just
Mhm.
understanding that you guys have similarities.
And you guys had other co-founders as well? Was it?
Yeah, so growing with our first tutoring company, there was some other co-founders, and like I said, just going through progression, even for the roadside assistance, and for the Power Boost Society was just us, but for the roadside assistance there was another guy. But it's kind of like, okay, who can kind of keep up with us?
Mm.
Yeah.
One thing too that a lot of people mess up when they start a company is tossing out equity like it's nothing.
Mm.
Right? It's where, okay, I don't want to do this alone. So here, come with me. You get 20%. You get 20%. You get
Oh yeah.
which at the you might find out a month, 2 months, 2 months, maybe a year later
Oh, they're
that
not the right fit.
they're not the right fit. They're not able to pull their weight, and they're not about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then they already have the equity. It's like, oh, like
It
it's
just
kind of weird to just like take it from them.
it makes the
Yeah.
whole thing messy.
Mhm.
And so like I said, it was kind of that filtering out to where I knew, okay, Justin's similar to me, and we both believe that what we can do is going to result in great things.
Definitely.
Wow.
Wow.
Which
Okay.
I'd like to say it's going good so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Definitely
mean,
is.
it's going good so far.
You said
Where?
both of y'all have ridden a Fetii before.
Yeah, we both
Yeah.
did it.
How was
Yeah.
yours? How was yours?
I mean, it was fun, dude. Like fun compared to everything else. Like
Are you just saying that because I'm here, or
no, like I mean,
No,
the
he told me about
disco
this.
ball.
It was fun. It was
Like
fun.
I mean, like yeah, because we're all together, right? Like I mean, we couldn't have fit like 10 people
yeah,
on
yeah.
any other car, and also, when we went to karaoke place and one
Where
of
where
you
was
know
it?
Austin karaoke.
No.
It's like north of here,
Okay.
like a couple blocks north. But basically, one of my friends, like she left her, I think it was phone or like her purse or something, on the Fetti,
Mm.
and like we realized when we were about to go, she was like, oh, like I think I left on the Fetti, and so it was also really convenient, like for me to be able to just like contact the driver like right away. I called him. I was like, hey, can you check, look around, right? And he found it right away. He was like, yeah, just I know you guys are coming back, so schedule it, and then um and like make sure that you find me on it, and then yeah, he was able to come
Okay,
and we got
that's
it.
good
So
to
that
hear.
like that was really smooth
Uh-huh.
as well. Like he was super cool about it. So yeah, it was just a good experience with that too.
Okay, well that's
Yeah.
good to hear. Yeah, no, and that's I love to hear that, and yeah, I mean, just the name of the game is just growing it to other cities, and
Mhm.
letting other people experience it for the first
Yeah,
time.
like where do you see yourselves being in like 5 years?
Yeah, well, 5 years we hope to be in every U.S. city.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah, every major U.S. city.
Uh-huh.
To start infiltrating, the college markets, and then later growing out into the broader markets within
Mm.
each city from there, with plans to expand globally. I mean, you know,
Mm,
it's
yeah.
now if you ask me, you know, that's our goal and that's what we're going to aim for. If we get that, you know, sooner than 5 years or
Mhm.
more than 5 years, um, you know, we'll see. But there's a quote that Elon Musk said that he said, and I might get this a little bit inaccurate, but if you give yourself 30 days to clean your house,
It'll
it'll
take
take you
30
I've heard this
30
one.
days.
Yeah.
days.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you give yourself 6 hours to clean it, it'll take you 6 hours.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's kind of where the thing for stagnancy is the deterrence of stagnancy is to our benefit, because we just want to get to that point in every city as quick as possible.
Yeah.
By all means necessary. Which I think you have to have if you want to go up against whether it be competitors or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
You just have to want to move as quickly as possible. So you tell me 5 years. If you ask me where do you want to be in 1 year, I would tell you the
It's
same
the same
answer.
thing.
You
That's
know?
right. That's right.
So
Yeah.
so yeah, we want to be in every city. We want to start expansion globally, and just keep on growing.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Very ambitious. I love this. I love this energy. I love the energy.
Yeah.
No,
With
me
all
too,
our
me
with all our
too.
guests.
Definitely. Yeah, I think this is a good point to, I mean, wrap it up.
Yeah.
We've been going for about an hour, but yeah, this was Mr. Matthew Iommi. Thank you so much for coming on our podcast and
I appreciate
sharing
it, guys.
your story. If you are not in Texas, you know, I think Fetii will probably
We'll be there soon.
We'll be
be
there
wherever
soon.
you are
Coming
pretty
soon.
soon. So
To
keep
a
an eye out for
place near you.
them. You know, check them out. But yeah, man,
Yeah, it was a
that would
great
be
time.
all.
I
Thank you
enjoyed
so
it. Yeah,
much.
I love the conversation.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
All right.
See you
Sounds
guys.
good.
Peace.